talk to me then about what parts of the Quran say about women.
Oh, that's so I mean, basic things, for example, like inheritance. Women would get less inheritance than men. Testimonies in court, a woman's testimony is half of a man's, and you need to bring extra female witnesses just in case one of them forgets. And then you've also got a man's kind of role on how to discipline his wife within a marriage, and that alludes itself to domestic violence, which is actually within the Quran itself, Surah 434, which is a surah of the verse of women, and it tells you exactly how to discipline your wife, and that becomes incredibly problematic because the discipline that's ordained is just merely if you fear disobedience. It's just, you know, a general paranoia that a husband could have, for instance. And then, like I said earlier, the unilateral right of divorce is only available to men. So actually women have no get-out clause if you go by the Quran itself. And then the background I come from, Sunni Islam, which is the major sect of Islam, the Sharia tenets are derived from the Quran itself, but also the Sunnah, so like the way of life of the Prophet. And he goes on further there to, you know, call women impure, deficient in intelligence. The impurity relates to the fact that women menstruate, and so you're not allowed to pray or fast during menstruation. So they take something as simple as like a normal bodily function and they turn it into the most loathsome, you know, kind of thing that women should be vilified for. And again, the deficiency in intellect comes down to the Prophet's ruling that a woman's testimony is half of a man's. So you've got all of these things combined with custody. Custody in Islam is once the child becomes 7, regardless of the best interest of the child, it just automatically goes to the man. So yeah, those are the kind of the main things, but we could delve deeper into any of those that you'd like.
To ask you is what the Quran says about non-Islamic women, especially because in the context of what we're talking about now, and we'll get on to that a bit later, but broadly speaking, whether or not having a huge influx of men from completely different cultures to our own is having an impact on women's safety, or is seeing an increase in sexual harassment. So I'm interested to know what the Quran says about how a Muslim man treats a non-Muslim woman.
Yeah, so directly again from the Quran, you've got the verse which addresses Muslim men. The whole Quran pretty much addresses Muslim men anyway, but the verse addresses Muslim men and it asks them to like cover up their women. So that relates to only believing men and believing women, essentially, which are Muslim women in these cases. So within that verse itself, it says to veil your women and make sure they're covered so as to not be harassed. And essentially that allows for all of this leeway where non-Muslim women who aren't covered or veiled in the same way are allowed or fair game to be kind of harassed or intimidated in the streets. And this is backed up by Islamic history. If you look into it, and if you look into the very origins of the hijab, it was to be able to differentiate as a marker between Muslim women and non-Muslim women in the history of kind of when they would go in to do night raids, or where they would, you know, go into other villages or kind of have these battles. They would take the women that they were visibly not Muslim women, and all kinds of sexual violence would be perpetrated against those women. And you've got Islamic scholars, one of the most famous ones from the subcontinent. He's been banned in a lot of countries, but a lot of countries still welcome him, Dr. Zakir Naik. I think he's been banned on Peace TV and Islam TV here in the UK. But he openly says if a woman is not wearing the Muslim veil, it's okay to harass her, or she should not complain if she is molested or harassed. So it completely sets like this delineator between Muslim women and non-Muslim women, and that's why you see elements of that appear in the grooming gang cover-ups as well, where disproportionately we see white working class girls being targeted, and the things that they were being called during these horrific, acts of sexual violence, that the terms that they were being shouted at and screamed at, and the verses of the Quran that were being used to justify the violence against them, all kind of stems back to this hijab concept and the concept of veiling and differentiating.
Jihad takes many forms. Immigration is one. Not every Muslim immigrant is a jihadist, but Islamic leaders use immigration strategically to establish footholds in Western nations, starting with mosques, then schools, creating parallel societies. Slowly but surely, they create enclaves where Western laws take a backseat to Sharia principles. There is jihad in education, teaching children that Islam is the only acceptable way of life. There is economic jihad, boycotting businesses that don't support Islamic causes. There is political jihad, using democratic processes to implement anti-democratic policies. Al Jazeera even calls itself media jihad. That's probably the only thing they say that I don't suspect to be a lie. And there's violent jihad, the most original form, practiced by Muhammad himself. His message of hope was simple: believe that I am the prophet or die right now. This wasn't a later corruption of his teachings. It was his method from the beginning. When we look at Islamic history honestly, we see that its expansion across North Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Europe came primarily through conquest, not peaceful conversion. The promises to martyrs, those willing to kill themselves and others for Islam, are extraordinary. Suicide bombers are promised a golden throne, 72 virgins, and power to save 70 family members. For a young man who believes blowing himself up will save his entire family, this becomes an irresistible motivation. From childhood, they're shown pictures of paradise with rivers and greenery, an enticing contrast to desert life, and warnings of hell for those who don't advance Islam's cause. Here's something the media won't tell you about: the concept of kuffar in Islamic theology. While Christians see unbelievers as lost souls to be saved, radical Islam sees non-Muslims, the kuffar, as fundamentally worthless. In their view, the kuffar have no inherent rights or dignity. This ideology explains many troubling patterns we see in Europe today regarding the treatment of local populations.